Did you get my chart up?
Okay, so we are live. Let me just confirm, make sure everything's okay, all good. So we have GodsEntry, we have Duncan, and we should be having a few other people. Oh, yeah, let me unmute myself there. Yeah, had to echo. So GodsEntry is someone who I've kind of been following for quite a while. Extremely knowledgeable when it comes to charting. So he's going to be giving like essentially a live example of how he kind of works with people. He's been working with me for like a few weeks now. He works with quite a few people in the community, and he's just from like a purely objective view, he's been extremely helpful in kind of helping me understand like where my weaknesses are, and he's always been extremely open to people who want to learn how to chart. And one of the things he said that kind of really clicked is he isn't like trying to train you to be a trader specifically, but to be really good at charting. And then once you're really good at charting, the trading kind of comes with it. And one of the things I learned from him was, like don't rely too much on indicators, and like really build up those fundamentals. And that's why his approach is really good, because building up that fundamental approach is something that anyone can learn, whether you're experienced or not experienced. Complete beginner who's never touched, a chart. Like his approach works really well. So let's have one more guest joining us now. And so Rip Coles, he is also a member of the VeVe Ecomi fam, and he is also kind of along the learning process. So Dan Kern and GodsEntry, these two are kind of like the I would say the veterans. So we will just start off with a quick intro, and then we'll kind of go to one of the charts that I've done, and GodsEntry is going to kind of walk us through it. So GodsEntry, Dan, Rip Crows. I think we can go GodsEntry, Dan Kern, and then Rip Crows in that order. If you guys want to just introduce yourself, kind of, share anything you want to share.
Thanks for having me on, Kelly. Yeah, basically, I guess what I'm trying to do is kind of give back a little bit, because I noticed so many people, they asked me to trade. How do I trade? And, through my journey of, all the indicators, trying to understand the charts, I notice a lot of people, they skip the main foundation, and that's charting itself. So if you don't understand the charts and you don't trust your own work, you really shouldn't be trading. So I try to teach like simple basics that people should know to get involved. Basically, I like to build a little community so people can help each other and learn.
Nice. And I think that's a great approach, because one thing you said to me as well is you don't really share your gains with people, because and I completely support that, because then you end up attracting the wrong kind of people with the wrong mentality. Like people who are just chasing money as opposed to wanting to learn. I mean, there should be a balance. Like, everyone does
I
it.
did do that at first, and I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that's what was happening.
Exactly.
I was just trying to help everybody out with OMI. Thank God 000 came in.
Yeah, your prediction came true. You're calling 000, Mr. Pags. He's a very loyal loyal follower of yours, and as a result, he's celebrating now. So yeah, your prediction was stuck to the chart on point there. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, we got that over with.
Yeah, but based off of the same chart, I think there's some potential really good news on the horizon. So I think we can touch on that later.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dan Kern.
Yeah, cheers guys for having us in. No, essentially, so my background's very similar to GodsEntry. I used to run a trading program several years ago with a few traders. I've learned my trading background from Forex traders in London, pretty much where Kay is. I live a hell of a long way away now from London, about 3.5 hours. So I used to travel in all the time and come back. But yeah, I tend to now not trade with anybody but for myself. And I go along the same manner of that GodsEntry just mentioned, whereas if you start sharing your trades and your profits, people start to, I don't know, they judge you. And that's not what you want in trading. Trading, the byproduct of trading should be money. I actually find trading fun to do. You get a bit of a kick. I'm not going to lie. You feel like you're winning. So the money for me isn't that. That's not the motivator. The motivator is helping people succeed, get to where they want to go. And if I can help, I'm all down for that. And I know GodsEntry's brought me into his community to potentially help and get some more eyes in there. So I do appreciate that, and thank you very much for the kind of like support that you've said to me, and you've been really good. And I can only bring what I can bring to the table, and if anyone wants to also bring anything to the table, because that's essentially how traders work. You work as a team, and as soon as you get a bit of teamwork, you all win. And that's exactly what we want for everyone in the community. So I totally respect what GodsEntry is doing, and yeah, all of it.
Much.
Nice. That's
Yeah, it's
solid.
been very helpful. I'm very grateful for you.
Yeah, so we've got a nice little kind of small community going. Dan's been really helpful. GodsEntry's been great, and even the people learning as well. Like they're sharing their progress. So Rip Curls, you're there as well. If you just want to like share a little bit about yourself, kind of how you're involved with GodsEntry and everyone.
Yeah. Hey guys, so awesome to be here on the stream, and I'll be the first to say, Dan and GodsEntry, man, you guys have really done something really unique, powerful here, just empowering people like myself who've been I've been in OMI for since 2019. I got in really early. Before we had all of this Disney and all this stuff here, and unfortunately, because we don't really have the tools, sometimes you feel like you're just subjected to market dynamics, and you almost feel kind of helpless, right? And I think just past week, Dan and GodsEntry, the stuff that you guys have taken the time to kind of break that down and just really fundamentally kind of show us like, hey, these are kind of what you're looking at with the trends and the momentum, and this is the level that you look at for a potential like setup and recognizing patterns. It's been so helpful for me just this past couple of days when we had significant movement in crypto and particularly in OMI. I mean, I really doubted seeing a 000 OMI again, and man, you guys called that like months ago. So just really grateful to be a part of this. I think if this is any indication on just the short impact it's had on me so far, I think a lot of other people can benefit from this. It's not really about the gains and the numbers and kind of posting the loss porn and gain porn, but for me it's about giving us some measure of control, because one thing I learned, we can't control the markets. You can't predict anything. But what you can do is strategically set yourself up to be accountable for your own bags. So Kay, I've been following you for some time. I think you're a wildly intelligent person. My background is actually in medical and healthcare, so we don't really have a lot of this type of education in our field, but I know Dan Lee is also in healthcare. He's interested in some of this stuff, and just grateful to be on the stream.
I used to be in healthcare. I was a stem cell researcher before I became I kind of jumped through careers.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I used to work in a hospital, this big hospital in London called Guy's Hospital, and it's part of this building called Guy's Tower. There's a lot of history to it. And then after that, I became a teacher, and then I became a financial analyst at Bloomberg. And then that's where I started to learn to code. And then now, obviously, in tech. I have a very weird career history, but it was good because I got to kind of try different things. And now I don't really regret what I'm doing. I enjoy tech, And similarly, I always enjoyed finance, but kind of when you work somewhere that you do as a hobby, then all of a sudden you kind of don't like that hobby anymore. Like I enjoy like finance and following the markets, but I realized when I was working in it full time, I stopped enjoying it.
It's kind of why I don't trade full time. I'll be honest. I've got a normal job where I obviously like to be around people. I mean, I can work from home. I prefer to go into the office. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing people's faces, being a team. That's what it's all about for me. Doesn't matter what you're doing. You've got to be around people.
Yeah, exactly. Solid. So what we'll do?
I was going to say I am actually a full-time trader.
Well, yeah.
Part of my journey was I thought I was a trader in 19. I shut down my business. I went to trading full time. Then right after I shut down my business, I actually lost everything.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I learned the hard way because my ego was in the way at the time.
Wow.
Fortunately, I have good friends and I got back into it. But
okay.
yeah, I have a lot of experience with the market.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that after we go through the next segment. So GodsEntry, he works directly with people and he helps them one-to-one with their charting. And he shows you some of the charts that he's done. He posts them publicly. And once you start to see the chart, in hindsight, come to fruition, he had the triple zeros on there and I was doubtful, but it happened spot on, like what he had done and charted out months ago. And so he teaches and trains people how to essentially be good at charting so that you can, as a result, become good at trading those charts. So he's been working on one.
The main thing you want to try to not so much predict, but basically calculate where price is going to come so you can catch the trade. So when it gets there, you have a plan. That's the idea.
Right.
Exactly. So he's kind of what he does is for the past few weeks he's been giving me these challenges. So he'll give me a trading pair, a token. We did Litecoin, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and he would ask me just to start off with finding all of the support and resistance points, and then he'll add on to it, clean it up, and from there he always says, once you can trust your lines, you can kind of better identify where the key points of price movement are. So what I'll do is, this is the chart that I did. So GodsEntry, he's gonna kind of go through and critique it, and this is kind of what we always do. He'll kind of clean up the lines a bit. He'll maybe add a few of his own lines, and then just give some feedback based on that. So this one is for Monero. So Monero's got a good bit of price history. For those who don't remember it, I believe it was one of the kind of OG privacy tokens.
A lot of price history, so it's a good coin to chart to sharpen your skills. Let me go to the beginning here. Hold on 1 second. I want to do this. Put the lock on, so move the lines. I know it looks crazy with all these lines right now, but there's a reason for it. All right, we're going to start from the beginning. So the idea is to place lines here and then look at future price action to see how strong they are, because these lines are like your roadmap. Put one here. I'm going to make these white so I know they're my corrections.
So do you typically do you have like a systematic approach that you kind of look at each chart? Do you start off with like the monthly or the daily, or kind of zoom in? Or
Yeah, it depends on what time the time of the week or time of the month. There's those key days on the monthly close and the weekly close. I definitely look at those days. And yes, you got to start from a zoomed out perspective to see the strength, because higher the time frame, the more powerful it is. But per the charting, yeah, there's a little system here. I mean, you'll see it as we go along. Let me do this here. So we got these here. This is pretty good. We're missing some down here. We're not going to grab those right now, but yeah, we should. Let's do it right. You got to get all these here because the price ever comes back. You need to know where the price is going to fall to, kind of like what's happening right now in the market. What I'm doing, I'm placing lines over here where I'm getting the most touches as resistance and support. And then I look to the left to see how they're working. And this one, I'll pull down to this a little bit. So you can adjust it for the future.
I think one of the things you just said there as well, GodsEntry, like one of the main things I ever got taught when trading was look left. If you want to know where it's been before, always look left.
Yes, it's going to give you exactly where the price was before. You're going to get the most reaction. Because that's what these lines are used for, is reactions. More so than support and resistance, because everybody says support and resistance, but as a trader, you want to see the best spot to get a reaction to get a trade. So we're going to do this. Could probably use one here. Then, as we did before, these are daily lines. So you really don't want more than like 8%, 8 to 10% between lines, because you can't really trade that. So I know this is the beginning of the coin, so we got a lot more price movements. It's generally not that big. Here. These are on the daily, so these lines are useful when you're trading on smaller time frames, because you realize it's very, it's very strong. So here, I just made these. Oops. A little touchy. The mouse. All right. So I just made all these lines. So let's just check these lines to see how they're working. See, I did this one here. This was a lot of support, support, support. That's a really good line. This wick right here, you can throw in there. I like to get the top of the candle base, candle body rather. So they probably move this down a little bit. I locked it. I need another one here somewhere. I'm placing my line here, and then I'm gonna look left. I'm gonna look right rather. Oops, what happened there? Wrong button. Anyways, all right. So I place my line there. Oh, there. Okay. I actually need one here. Another one here. Oh, we got price trapped within a small percentage. There's 5% in trading is a lot.
Yeah, I think people forget the little numbers are actually quite a lot. If even like 3 to 5%, I'm happy with that. I think if you look at an investment from a bank and it's on interest at the minute, you ain't going to get more than any of them kind of figures anyway. So yeah, you don't get greedy. That's the main thing.
Also, when you add leverage to the 5%, so if you have 10x leverage on a 5% move, that's 50% gain. So, so I'm placing a line right here. Well, look, hold on a second. They should be white. My corrections. I'm gonna look to my right. You see how this wick came down and caught the top of it. So I like that line. I need one here. It's pretty good. You could probably put another one in here, quite honest. But we're gonna skip that. I know price comes back here. All right, so these aren't so important. So let's look up here. See right here, we had a lot of support, resistance, and then we went through. Later on, we came down, we touched that line exactly right here. So that's a strong line. Pretty good. I'm going to throw on that wick. And the other idea of these exercises is to keep doing it multiple times over assets until you get it right. This should be like part of it. Every time you get into a new asset is to chart this first. This is the first step.
And I always do this as well. It's the same procedure. Obviously, this one's got a hell of a lot more levels on than you would normally expect, especially given the fact that this is a lot of history to go through.
It seems like a lot, but when I go down to the lower time frames, they'll be pretty far apart. We're on a daily right now, so very rarely do you trade on a daily. Okay, these are pretty good. Might want one here. Okay. That's pretty good. We'll focus on this wick.
Also, might be worth explaining GodsEntry. Like, I know you're a day trader, so day traders tend to trade the lower time frames. Might be worth explaining just for the people that don't understand. Like, if you don't want to trade as fast as a day trader, you can trade the daily and even the weekly time frames.
Yeah, it's 100%. That's why it's worth doing this, even if you're an investor. So you can get the reversals within pretty close. If you're an investor, you want to trade really on a weekly and a daily. Like day traders, we trade on the low time frames. I can get into more of that. Once we get into the patterns, there's like specific time frames that they work better in.
It's really good at, like, I just want to highlight the fact that even if you don't want to trade and if you're just wanting to trade the higher time frames, you potentially only have to look at this once or twice a week. It's not like you're not having to put days and days worth of effort in. You might just go, do you know what, Saturdays and Sundays, I'm gonna check the charts out, see where we're at, and then I'll make my conviction then. And that's exactly what I used to do and still do now, to be fair.
What I want to do is, all right, here, we'll get to finish up here. Then we're going to check all these lines we made and see how they're working out. That's the objective. I'm working here to the left, and we're going to check to the right to see how strong they are, and then we adjust them. K's doing pretty good. Even though I'm adding a lot, he's actually coming from one extreme to the other. That's why usually when I start working with somebody, they usually do not enough lines. And then K's a little bit more experienced, so he had a little too many lines. So now he's going the other degree. So the idea is we'll find the middle ground, and then we'll move on to the next step. Like that's kind of what's happening right now. You know, if that makes sense. He's doing pretty good, actually. K actually has experience too, so. Pretty good. See why I know there should be a line here? I just go over here and take the measurement. 10%. That's about as there probably should be one more in there. And then actually when we jump down, if we miss some of these lines in here that should be here, we'll jump down to a lower time frame and we'll catch it there. But right now we're just getting the dailies. You're trading, you want to make sure you know what time frame is stronger. So that's why we start with daily. All right. So we did all those. And they're working out pretty good. This one worked out really good. You know, we worked from the left. Now we're coming right. See how these are working out. Pretty good. Nice strong support here. Probably should be one right here. This one, probably that works good. Probably one here. We're not going to worry about that. You probably catch that in a lower time frame.
If anyone in the chat can start to notice a pattern, feel free to say what you think.
Yeah. Well, once we're done, once I get done with the chart, I was going to actually, that was my next thing I was going to do. I was going to try to show them certain parameters before they can enter a trade. The whole idea is to trust your charting, because what I'm trying to do is help everybody understand price action, because price action is king. Yeah, indicators, they get to a point in the market like what happened the other day, yesterday, indicators didn't work at all. So when you're looking at that time, in that sort of time, you need to know how to chart. You need to know how to understand price action around it. These are working pretty good. This line's really good. So this line worked out. You see how we rejected from here? Probably it's moved up. Probably no one down here. This worked well here. Probably one here. This one worked well. There's probably another line in here. Let's see how far this percent is. Like 10%. There's definitely another line in here. Lower time frames, there's probably another one here. Definitely one here. Just check to see how that worked back here. Did we miss something? Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna take this wick right here, put a line. I always like to get the candle body where it stops and the top of the wick when we peak. See, this works for support, support, support. All right. That line worked pretty good. Probably another one here. The idea is to do these and adjust them. You fine tune them at the end. Then you set them and save them. Now you have it for this asset forever. It's basically the roadmap. I want it here.
Just looking at questions in the chat, Kay, you're going to just jot a few down and then obviously
Yeah,
when it's more relevant.
I don't have the chat up, so I can't see anything. Well, I'm going to just do an example real quick. Now, this is a daily. I mean, the next step after this is drawing pattern. This is a wedge. First, you get the lines, then you identify the pattern. The next step that me and Kay are going to go into after the support and resistance is pattern recognition. And then once we get pattern recognition down, then we're going to go to which patterns to trade and how to trade, actually. That was one of my biggest things. I could identify patterns, but I mean, I knew how to trade them.
Yeah, and I think that's a big turning point for a lot of traders, to be fair. Is realizing what to do in that scenario.
As you have a falling wedge in here, price compression. This line probably should come down a little bit. There's probably another one here. Yep. The lower time frame would be in line. So basically, you would see this falling wedge come down, or descending wedge falling down onto support. So you'd have two reasons to take a trade. Then there's other things we do. So you need to have at least 3 or 4, parameters to actually get into a trade. So the idea is to be comfortable with your charting so you can trust trust what you're doing. You don't want to go off another trader You don't know how he's trading. You really don't want to be part of signals because that's not going to be helpful.
No, it's like second-hand goods. If someone gives you information, it's not the right information that you understand, so you're not going to be able to learn from it. I mean, signals are okay, but you're not going to be able to learn from it. And what happens if that person's not actually giving you signals anymore? You're never going to be profitable ever again. So the main reason for this is to learn yourself. It is the best way to trade.
These are pretty good. Sorry, Kay, I didn't mean to add so many lines.
Oh no.
I got to do it right. We got to do it right. You're going from one extreme to the other right now. It's okay though. That's how we learn. The idea is we just keep doing this until you get it. Until you're mad at me.
Hey, there was a interesting comment in the chat from NFT Hero, basically saying that charting could not have predicted the FTX crash, and so do you find that in these black swan events that you can still go back to the chart and check your lines to kind of predict where we might have support, where might be good entry points for the trade, or is it that during the crash you have to kind of readjust and reset your parameters?
Well, what I've learned in trading and viewing these markets, whatever event, whatever news, if you trade properly, you will be in the right position. So, and yes, it's not that it predicted it. The market so they could do what they want to do. Because they're looking for liquidity right now in the market.
I kind of second what you just said there, GodsEntry, because I'll be honest, no matter what news happens, it generally does then fall into the remit of what the actual chart should read correctly for. I don't know why it happens, and it's weird, but it just always works itself out. And then you go back and you look at that and you go, the fundamentals are correct. It is what's supposed to happen for that. It's so strange.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's not going to predict the crash, but we already broke a major pattern before it started. So you got to realize they know when to put out the news. There's market makers.
Yep.
Yeah, the way that I've always understood it is charting uses history, right? Historical data. And historically, we've always had really weird black swan events and stuff.
Sorry.
So that's kind of factored into when you're charting because you're using data where these events have already happened. So it's predicting, I guess in a way, it's accounting for those events to continue happening. So it kind of averages out over time anyway. So it's not like going to be some random anomaly.
I got you.
So, and then also one of the main reasons I do these lines is for when something like that happens. Here's a perfect example. Like, this is a pretty big drop. This is like a crash day. No, I'm not going to know which line we're going to go to. But when we start finding support on one of these lines, like, we can say, all right, this may be a bottom. This gives you one parameter to, or one tool to use. I'll show you on the chart that here. I want to pause this for a second to answer that question. Let me go here. We're going to 12-hour. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. This is why I want to teach charting. We'll take some of this off and clean this up a little bit. Let me do this. So this is simple price action with charting. Once you get into it, you're going to know this channel, this blue channel here, is a bearish pattern. So you would have traded the top of it because that's how you trade this pattern. You would go short here and along the bottom, and you just keep doing it. It doesn't matter which trade you have. The idea is to have a trade from the top and the bottom, and the idea is to keep the winner. So yes, you would have gotten that short way before the crash, days before. The crash was yesterday. It took you would have been at trade almost 2-3 days prior. You traded this pattern correctly.
So, hey, why is that necessarily a bearish pattern? Because to me, it looks like, you have higher lows moving up the time frame, and potentially, Tuesday, November 8th looks like you could potentially have a breakout. So how do you differentiate?
Well, this was actually these patterns work better because we're in a bear market. So if this was most likely, if we were in a bull market, this pattern probably would have been this. This is the other option. This is that. This probably would have been something like this.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been a bullish pattern. But we're still in a bear market. So right now, I'm only going after bearish patterns because bullish patterns are failing. So that's one way. There's no 100% guarantee you're going to know. But the idea is if you're actually trading this and you're trading this like a range, you would be in a long here. And on another count, you would have took a short when you hit the top here because you see all this resistance. And quite honestly, for the last year, these bear flags, that's all you had to play. You didn't have to do anything, just keep playing these bear flags, and you would have been in every short. So that's an example.
And the year before that as well, GodsEntry, you would have been doing all the bullish patterns because everyone was just like, yeah, you can always win with Bitcoin. It's just going up and up and up, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, it's the flip side at the moment.
So I think we're coming down here, at least at 13K. I don't think this move is over. I don't think we got all the news in, and there's really no reason for the market to go up yet. So I think we're still going to come down one way or another. Now to validate that, we'd have to get back above 20K, back in this pattern and break out. Then you know what? Hey, maybe we're in a bull market again. But until that happens, you got to keep playing the bearish side of things until it stops working.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to 13K.
Yeah, me too.
Got liquidity ready.
Hopefully I answered the question. So yeah, charting protects everything. Like I'll argue that point every time. Because the news usually comes around after the news comes after the move happens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So these are pretty good, Kay. I know I added a bunch, but this coin has a lot of price history, so there's extra lines. So like right here, just an example. Here's another pattern.
Also, I found when I was trading as well. So there's if you go into Google and put trading patterns, you can get all of these sort of formations on one sheet. It's also really good to like familiarize yourself with those patterns, so you can then start popping patterns onto a chart and going, yeah, I recognize that was that pattern, and it doesn't matter even if it's a relevant chart. You could go back on any chart, Bitcoin, whatever it might be Monero, it doesn't matter. If you can highlight the patterns and see actually what happened prior to that, for that to happen, and then be a valuable trade, like there's an ascending triangle there, and it's then dropped into a short. Yeah, it's always good to see that, and that's a really good point to do the research first, and then obviously as you grow as a trader, you'll then realize that and you know what, I was right, and it's that part of the trading that you go, do you know what, I can actually do this, and that makes you a better trader. Plus the plus side to that is as well, you'll be profitable, and that's what everyone wants to be. So yeah, I like what you just did there as well, GodsEntry. You took the difference, and then the drop between the two is usually the outcome.
I mean, there's a lot of other, I would say, nuances to this too. Like most traders aren't going to tell you exactly how to do this. I mean, they're going to tell you how to draw it, but with me, once you do this with me and you go through all the work, I'm going to give you tips. But you got to do the work first. But I have tips to make it a lot easier. But I don't want to just give that away. But I'm just being honest. I want people to work for it if I'm going to spend time.
No, and I think that adds value not to you. It adds value for the person learning as well. If someone's going to hand it out, it ain't going to be worth it for you. You've got to put the effort in.
So yeah, what I was trying to say here, that I drew this out.
So,
This was-
so
the-
one pattern that I keep seeing that kind of confuses me a lot is these W patterns, especially on the like higher time frames, and the M patterns. Just like this, if you move forward in the chart here a little bit, it looks like a
Okay.
W, but it also looks like an M.
This right here.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. How
Well,
do you?
you would have played this. They're double bottoms and double tops, is what you're saying. So you would have played this because this support held pretty hard, pretty good here. So when we came down here, you would have played it again.
Yeah, add a double bottom that as well.
I like to refer them as double bottoms and double tops. So, and there's this, there's ways to actually trade that. So
Yeah, OMI's had quite a few of those too.
here's another pattern. If we go in a lower time frame, it'll be easier to draw. But right now, I'll just draw it. You have another channel here, or following a descending wedge. So you saw it falling. This may even be a channel on a lower time frame, but this is really solid support here. This is a bullish pattern. You would have caught this little move here, and it's the little move, 25% or a little bit more. So you would have took profit at all these levels all the way up, and lock in your profits. You let your runners run. So the idea is to take profit too. You have to take profit, or it just doesn't work. You just can't hope it keeps running. You got to have targets and just keep taking your profits when you hit your targets.
Yeah, plan
Right.
your trade and then trade your plan always.
We all make mistakes, but that's how we learn. Pretty good. See, I just added those two lines. I didn't even see the price action over here. You see how it caught all those for resistance? There's probably another one here.
Yeah, I'd pop another one in there for sure. You can see all the bottoms on it.
Probably
What you're
better.
looking for, yeah, what you're looking for is where the price doesn't go lower, so that there's no price action to say that thing's worth less. So people are buying it at that price, which means it's sticking to its guns, which means it will potentially go higher.
I'm actually looking for support and resistance. I'm looking for a lot of touches on both sides. Is really what I'm looking for. That's the best way to describe it. We made all these lines. We saw this price action. They're working pretty good here. We caught all this. This worked pretty well. We didn't see this price action. It's working very well. So now you have a roadmap from price ever goes there again. That's one of the reasons why I'm really confident that we're going to go to 13.8. We may not get to 13.8. We may get front ran. 13.8 is a really solid support resistance. Basically it. Probably one here in a lower time frame. A lot of these lines I'm putting in K are probably on a lower time frame, but I'm just putting them in so you have them. Definitely something here. This is really just the beginning support and resistance. It's just the very beginning of trading. It's probably the most boring thing to do.
It is, but yeah, it's one of the most profitable ways of staying profitable.
Here's another example. These play out all the time. You would have caught this on a lower time frame. Then we go to other steps so we can see if there's tradable patterns too. You know, there's a way to, not like a cheat, but more kind of, there's like a little cheat code to see if these are going to work before they do. To a high probability. The whole idea is to take high probability trades.
Yeah, what you're not looking for, like Green Goblin just mentioned, moon soon. You're not looking for a moon. You're looking for a predictable pattern that you know that you can make profit from. If it moons, brilliant, but that's not what you're trading for. Everyone wants it to go up. Don't get me wrong. We all invested in a token and we want to skyrocket. You want the probability of a trade to do exactly what you think it's going to do.
You definitely want, we all want it to moon. But the purpose of this is so you can do it on your own. You don't have to look for somebody to do it for you. You know, that's the whole purpose of, I guess, I'm trying to help people chart, because once you get into it, I mean, I'm going to flip the OMI really quick. But if you just did simple charting, like if you just really did very simple, this is very basic. As soon as we broke this trend line in the beginning of OMI, you would have took your money, because you know we're going down. We just shot up. When you see something go up like this, we're coming back down. I don't care what asset we're in. Anything that goes up too fast always comes down. So, and goes, you know, doesn't matter what asset it is.
I just look at that first chart there, that of OMI, the blue line you've got in. That's your
Right.
Fibonacci retracement line. That's the top of everything since then. If you do a bottom to top, I bet that line drops right on.
We'll do bottom and top.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. We'll do. Okay. Why is it not working? We'll go like this. All right, here, I'll reverse it. Let me see something here for a second. Yeah, no, I'll go like this. Depending where you place it, this wick down here, you really got to go to the bottom, but if we go up, yeah.
Well, if you went from the bottom of the start, that
Right
probably
here?
would be, yeah.
Huh?
You wouldn't know, if you went back in time, you wouldn't know the bottom where we've currently come from. But yeah,
All right,
it's not far off.
there you go.
Yeah, it's more looking like, look how many touches there are on the tops.
Yeah, that was a 0.5 retracement.
Yeah.
But really, I put this line here because this top right here. Oops. This blue line is from this top right here.
Yeah.
There's a question that came in, because I asked the same question, where I said often I would enter a trade like too early. And I guess that's kind of what he's asking, is how many candles do you wait before you act on it? So how do you know, it's too early to enter the trade, as opposed to, now's a good time to take it?
Don't deploy all your capital at the same time. You know, that usually if you have a place where you want to enter, you front run it with a small amount, or like a third or a quarter, and then you ladder in your orders. So if it overshoots your target, you get a nice average. That's the idea. Can you hear me? Or
Yeah, it might be actually a good idea to do an example if you can. That might be cool for everyone to see.
so we'll just use this as an example. Say your target was here, this bottom line, when we got here, because you saw this wick. So you're like, all right, this is strong support. So we'll just do like this. Just put an order here. We'll make this orange. Right? So you would ladder orders all the way down. And the idea isn't to be greedy and make sure all your orders fill or you get all your money at the same time. The idea is to get a piece of it. So you just place orders and overshot. You'd be playing this wick right here. I actually traded this and it went below, but I played this wick, and that's how I had my orders placed. I caught them all, and it shot up. But that's the idea. You want to place it in ladders.
And people often they might refer to this as dollar cost averaging in. It sort of is, just on a bit of a minute scale.
Yeah. So the other way to look at it, because everybody looks at it as a point when you entry and exit, you're supposed to. The correct way is to look at it like a zone. You just, all right, this is my zone, so I'm gonna place orders in my zone.
And what that does for a trade mentality, so everyone's aware, say if you put one order in and you don't put three, like GodsEntry is just highlighted there, and you miss your order, your mental state is going to be like, God damn it, I missed it by whatever it might be. And we've all been there. Oh, I missed it by literally 0.1 of a cent or something. And it drives you insane. Whereas if you actually got some of the dip, and then you feel better than having nothing of the dip. So you've got to really make sure, you trade in this manner so that your mental state isn't fatigued by a loss or any sort of something that might not happen that you don't foresee. That's all you're trying to keep your perspective on the actual trade.
Yeah, the whole idea, like, one of my hardest things I went through was I used to look at everything as a point. And until I understood to look at it as a zone, it takes stress off of your entries and your trades. And
Yeah, I mean, you've seen my charts. I stick zones in too. Anyone who follows me on Twitter, they'll have seen my take profit zones. They're exactly the same. You stick that as your trade plan almost. And anywhere in that zone you feel happy, you can take the trade.
yeah, the whole idea is to take stress off the trade. And you can always add to a winning trade if it really takes off on you. So if you didn't get it all in, you can always add to it. It's always nothing goes straight up. Nothing goes straight down.
Nope, and I can think most of the people in the chat will have bought OMI, and then it'll have gone down even more, and you'll be like, God damn it, I haven't got no more money to buy any more OMI. Whereas if you'd have leveraged in a little bit and gone, yeah, do you know what? I'll put 3 trades in. I'll catch three different entry points, all lower. And if you don't get your last one, buy it on the way back up again. It doesn't matter.
You can always add to it.
That's literally one of the things that I've taken away from my mistakes in the past is, even though I was like quite hesitant on 000s coming so soon, I still didn't go all in. I only used like 1/6 of my kind of capital that I put aside. And I'm only going to be, I've made myself like a vow that I'm not going to touch that capital until Bitcoin drops to below 14K. Then I'll start to kind of layer in that way. But yeah, if it doesn't go that low, then yeah, fine. But if it does, then I'll be pretty happy with that.
Here's another thing too. I'll just give a little tip. As a trader, I guess you can apply it to investing. The really true idea is, we'll just say this is 100% move. I don't know what it is, but whatever. We'll say from this point to this point, it's 100%. Well, you're going for the bottom, you missed it, so you're not going to take the trade, and you're going to miss this whole move up. The idea is really to get this part of it. Oops, where are we at? The idea is to get this part of it. This 70% in the middle means more than 100% of a missed move. So we went up here, you saw support, you would grab here. We went up, you hit your take profit. I took it. And if it runs, it's great. But the idea is to get the meat in the middle. It's not to get the exact bottom and exact top.
No, I think too many people get held up on the perfect entry and exit point. There's no point to that.
Exactly.
You're just going to drive yourself insane doing that.
I've done that a lot.
Brilliant. Yeah, live and learn.
Because it's something you have to experience to get over it.
No, I know, and I get that. I think people learn different ways, and I think hands up. If you stick your hands up and went, yeah, I used to do that a lot. And
then you see my name, it says GodsEntry, right?
Yeah, I did think that.
Because another thing, I used to be in a trade group, and I was like started out most of the times we start trading, you're a scalper. So I was generally I was in the trade first most of the time. But as you grow and start to evolve as a trader, you realize scalping, it's fun. It's like a video game, but like really, if you want to make money, you want your money in the big moves, and you want your trade to run for a long time. Like those are the best money making opportunities when you catch a swing trade. And I think too many people, when they first get into this, they're all about scalping. It's great, but the main thing is you got to understand this market. Like to hit this zone right down here, this market makers are loving this price going back and forth here. Like there's whales, they're just scooping it up every time it goes here, selling the top, pushing it down, buying more, and push it back up, push it down, buy more. When this leaves this zone, the market maker or the whale, I'm just using OMI as an example. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but when we leave this range, that whale is going to have everything he wants before he lets price leave this range. That's a market maker. That's what market makers do. They're going to keep price in this range until their bags are filled. And some people go, why is it coming back down? Because we're in the trading range and the whale's not ready to let the price run yet. I'm not saying that's happening to me, but that's how you got to interpret looking at this range. So every time you come down, you buy, and every time it goes to the top, you sell. But that's what a market maker's doing.
Yep.
And the idea is to not fight the market maker. The idea is to just go with them. So when you can identify what they're doing, you just roll with them.
I mean, you've heard me talking about traders being cheap. That's kind of the way I explain it to most people is that they all move together. So once you get one person moving the right way, that generally the market will move because the others follow suit.
Yeah, I think right now this pattern right here, I really think it looks a lot like the schematic right here. Like, we just came down.
Yeah.
We did that before. We already did this. We just went lower. So this could be a spring if this is the pattern. The bottom could be in. Just because the bottom's in for OMI doesn't mean the bottom's in for Bitcoin, because OMI doesn't usually move with Bitcoin. It usually goes.
No, and the spring to me, especially with what you've just shown there, with it being on such a round number. So in trading, a lot of traders will use round numbers, which is like 1 or number 2 or number 2.5 or whatever. Because we've got OMI just hitting around the 001 mark, the spring's gone lower, and then that's a real what do you call it? Like a sentimental value. Like everyone always goes, 001 OMI. It's like you're not going to get your triple zeros. It's not moving for very long, and that's why you would get your spring dip. So I think you're right there. To be fair.
One moment.
Oh, I think he's just going to come back. He's just I think maybe changing device or recharging.
Generally, I've just read your comment, Foster. The bots don't trade like a human being. Generally, it depends what they're trying to do. You find a lot of bots trade like a grid trade. So they'll put a buy and a sell in, and they'll take 1%, and they'll just keep trading and trading in like a grid pattern. So that the market just factors them in. There's a hell of a lot more traders than bots normally, so you don't notice it too much.
Sorry, I had to answer the door. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So, our charts. What do you want to get? Sorry, I missed what you were saying. I'd answer the door.
It's all right. Foster just asked a question about bots and trading bots. I was just saying that bots generally trade grid stuff normally.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm all right. So the way I'm trying to teach everybody to trade is kind of how bots trade. So the idea is you got to trade like a bot and think like a whale. Like that's actually the motto. You got to have the mindset. So, And that's why I use a lot of Fibonacci, because a lot of algorithms are based off of Fibonacci. And so some of the indicators I use are based off of Fibonacci too. Like there's little tricks once you understand what the algorithms are doing. Not so much front run them, but you work with them.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So, okay. What other asset you want to do for the next one?
So we've kind of gone through OMI now, Monero. I don't know what else is. Oh, we could do a smaller one. I don't know if IMX is on there, but that's a popular one that people are also involved in.
Well, here, this is what I want you to do. What other chart did we do live? What's the last one we did? Litecoin?
Oh, someone else said IMX.
I don't know if IMX has got a lot of data, to be honest. It's only been around a few months, isn't it?
I was going to give you your next task to do.
Oh, next task. Oh, then something with a good history to it.
Well, we'll go back to Litecoin.
Yeah.
And I used to trade this all the time.
Bitstamp? Is that what we did it on? No.
Is that the price now? I've not looked at Litecoin price. Is it 61?
Yeah, it's 61.
Wow. I remember riding that all the way up to 200.
Mm.
You want me to do IMX real quick? Here, we'll do IMX. I have about 20 minutes. And I have to run.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's not too bad, actually.
IMX is easy. I want to give you your next task so people kind of get it. It's not just support and resistance. There's like 9 different phases that you got to do, and then at the end, basically, you put it all together and you come up with your own trading plan and parameters to enter a trade off of pure price action rather than basing your trade off a signal or an indicator. That's the objective of this. So.
Do you ever look at moving averages with these charts?
To be honest, I mean, there's a lot of tools out there. I know a lot of guys trade with moving averages. I don't, because they're lagging indicators. The only thing I use is like the 50 and the 200 on high time frames.
Okay.
I'm the same as GodsEntry. I don't look at moving averages on anything low. It's pointless.
I think it's kind of useless to me because I want to be in the move before that happens.
Yep.
So here, we're just going to.
And there's a lot of people that talk about a death cross with moving averages, which is where it gets to a certain point where the actual two cross and it looks like an actual cross. I think it's 50 and 200.
So the idea with those are you generally got to look at the slope, and when like there's like a mouth, and like you want to see when it's about to cross, you try to front run it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but I don't trade that kind of stuff anyway. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I feel like, GodsEntry just said, you feel like you're lagging anyway. Everyone's suspect to what's coming up. They already know.
Yeah, they're already in. The market makers are already in. They already have the order set. This will just give a little general idea. Like, everybody, like I said, everybody wants to trade, but they really have to fine tune their charting skills first, in my opinion. That's when I got, I traded for almost 2-3 years before I fine-tuned my charting skills. I was just using all the tools everybody was throwing at me, trying to figure out how to use them. And then at the end of the day, I threw most of them in the trash. Just went back to price action and
I've never had that conversation with you. I did exactly the same.
Everybody's different. Every trader's different. You have range traders, you have trend traders, you got flow traders. There's all sorts of different styles of trading, and you got to find what works for you and stick with it. I think one of the biggest problem traders do is they focus on what they did wrong rather than focus on what they did right so you can replicate it. Because it's a big deal in trading. You do something wrong, you get stuck in your head about it. You reflect too long, and you don't get back into it. So the idea is you're supposed to keep a journal to find out what you actually did right. and replicate that over and over again. Because maybe that's all you're good at. Maybe you're only good at one setup. You know what? You can make money at that. You just got to wait for it and be patient.
Yeah, so I knew a trader that just traded the round numbers. He would literally he'd wait for a round number like 100 to come along, and he'd just sell. When he got up to there, he'd just sell, and then it'd bounce down. He'd wait for 50 again, and as soon as he got to 55, and that's all he ever did. And he was profitable, and that's exactly what he liked to do. But he wasn't trading daily; he was trading over a long period of time.
I think they had a lot of tokens for IMX to unlock. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kane knows the numbers.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
75% is still due for less than that now. They had an unlock recently, like last week. But SEC, it's a lot.
Yeah, this is going to keep going down. Honestly, I mean, until we get.
They ICO'd at $10, and I actually tried to buy it at $10, and now I'm like,
Yeah, so did I. I'm glad I didn't.
and I'm glad I didn't get in back then. It was hard to buy it. Like, it was a lot of competition. Foster asked if you would ever trade like I call them like dying tokens, like FTT or Luna. Like, if you understand what's happening and it's just dropping constantly. Because I did trade Luna as it was going down, and I got lucky. I like doubled my money in like quite a quick time frame. So I caught a bounce, but I personally wouldn't touch those. But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, how do I say this? There's a fine line in trading between gambling and trading. So the whole idea of this is to build good habits. So once you understand that fine line, because those bad habits are going to fall into your trades. So anything that involves gambling, I just stay away from. To me, that's gambling. And I need data. And the sentiment doesn't mean much. I mean, it was a perfect thing. Everybody was happy. I was telling everybody, I posted a tweet, take your profit. We're coming to the top of the range. They front led. They told us that whatever it was a week or so prior that the article is coming out. That's when you buy. And when actual news actually happens, that's when you sell. So that's why you really don't want to get involved in trading like that, because that's generally what happens. So you're better off focusing on the charts and play the levels. Well, that was our example.
So, I mean, we could potentially be in that channel for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I mean, I thought we were going to come a little lower, but we already came down, so we're following that schematic. This may be the spring, and
yeah.
OMI may do something different because there are outliers in this market. So just because the market's going down doesn't mean OMI's going to keep going down. Like, we came down a lot. So, like I said, it moves a little bit differently than Bitcoin. I've noticed that. Yeah, I kind of got to follow ETH, but ETH goes to like $700. OMI's coming back down. Should come back down.
Yeah, right.
He's held up pretty well over the FTX issue. I'm not gonna lie, it did dip, but it didn't come down half as much as I thought it would.
ETH is like here. I'm going to show you with ETH right now. We're holding this. I have this trend line here, but this is the trend that we broke. Let me take this off. I mean, if you draw this like a channel, I'm not going to do that. I don't scare everybody, but yeah, get rid of that. This is the trend that we were following all year. We hit this trend, I shorted here. I hit this trend, I shorted here. I hit this trend, I shorted here. I shorted here, and I lost. But now we're coming back into the trend. We really got to recover right here. We really don't want to go lower than this. We don't want to go below this trend, because then we have to take all that time and build up steam to get back through it. So if we drop this, and this is another trend line, it's a pretty critical point right now for ETH. If I go back in time, this blue trend line was the very beginning of the run-up.
Yeah.
So this trend line's pretty well respected. See how right here we caught support. This is your support and resistance, and you had a trend line. This is a good area to take a long. Anyways, we really don't want to lose this area for ETH. Because if not, I don't know. We can go at least down like 700.
Yep. One of the cheesiest phrases I got taught was "trend is your friend." Literally, it will help you.
Yeah, because you can just be a trend trader and do very well for yourself.
Exactly that.
You know, you just trade the trend. If the market's bullish, you just keep trading the bullish trend. If the market's bearish, just trade the bearish trend. And you won't have a trade every day, but when it comes, you'll most likely make money.
Yep, and that's what alerts are for. So if you can get into setting alerts on trades, yeah.
The only thing, I'm going to switch to Bitcoin real quick. The only thing I don't like is we're falling below this trend right now. We've only done this once. And really, to be quite honest, this is a whole cycle of Bitcoin. I'm not trying to scare people, but this is a bearish channel that we're in. So we've only dropped below it back here at 15.
So for anyone looking at that pattern, it's the same pattern as what Rip Curls earlier was explaining. That doesn't look bearish. It's exactly the same channel pattern.
Right. So if we lose this price structure, we basically got to start over again. Not like, not that we're going to zero, but this price action is going to take some time to recover. So we don't really want to drop out of this channel and stay below it for too long. So that's what I'm seeing right now. We're dropping below this channel. So we have to find support somewhere, build up steam, and then come back up. But if we lose it right here, we're definitely coming down lower. Like, this is a weekly candle. So we should come down to this support line right here.
And 10K is a round number, so there's going to be a lot of people buying in on that 10K level. So they'll think, oh, that's a really good level to buy in. 10K Bitcoin, yeah. And then potentially it could go lower.
I mean,
but you'll get a bounce off the 10K for sure.
I'm going to go back in the history too. Like, if you want to look at this right here, this is a capitulation candle. We came down pretty, it's a pretty big candle. Then we went down a little bit. Then we built up support, but we were down here for months. It was a couple months. We stayed at the bottom. This one's a pretty big capitulation candle. We went straight up. And remember, they printed money. That's why we went up. We didn't go up because something great happened. They printed money and put it in the market. So this candle is really not that big of a capitulation candle. So we can keep coming down. So I'll keep my eye on this right here, which is one thing. So that's why I don't want to call. I'll call bottom when I think bottom, but I don't see it just yet.
No, I don't either.
That's why I'm taking this time to try to help people, because it's in a bull market. I'm not going to really. I mean, I'll be around, but I'm going to be. It's a lot easier to make money in a bull market rather.
Plus, you feel good about it, because I don't like shorting. I'll be honest, as a trader, you don't like to short because your money's going down whilst you're doing it, potentially. And it's like, it just doesn't feel right, but you still can make money.
No,
in a bull market, everyone's like, yeah, it's like the best thing ever.
No, I disagree.
I heard the opposite.
I love shorting.
Do you?
You make more money going down because price is coming with you.
No, and I get that. It just feels wrong for me personally.
I get it, but my biggest trades were shorts. So, and they come faster. Like my longs.
No, that is true. Yeah.
My longs, I would have to hold for a couple months. My shorts, I might have to hold for a couple days or weeks or something.
Yeah.
You make a lot because you notice, when we come down fast.
I think that's probably mainly a mentality thing then for me, because it's just a feeling of it.
Well, and if you're actually trading the actual asset, you make more of the coin on the way down too.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's the other way you look at it.
That's what I'm doing at the minute anyway.
I don't know if this was helpful. I mean, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Very helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been really, really insightful.
Hey, I got one question before we go, guys.
Go for it.
Is there any metrics or parameters that you guys use to determine the length or of particular cycles, like bear market, bull market, based on past history? is there any indicators that you can say, okay, well, between this period and that period, we expect a cycle that's pretty similar, or is
The only one
really
yeah.
dependent on macro?
The only one I can think of is for Bitcoin, and I think someone made an Ethereum version of it. Is the rainbow table. That's the only one that I know of that would actually suit that what you're asking. But it's not for OMI or anything like that. It literally is the Bitcoin rainbow table. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but it's very similar to what GodsEntry's got on screen now. So I wouldn't take it as like a given. But yeah, no, that is the only one I know of.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to say the Bitcoin halving. All right, I've seen pretty much every cycle. I've been trading since the 17 cycle, but I've been in from the beginning. The whole idea of this, as an investor, I mean, I don't give financial advice. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict the future. You basically want your bags packed prior to the halving. So worrying about catching a bottom really isn't, what you need to do. The whole idea is make sure your bags are packed before the halving, because what happens is every cycle, there's more people that come in. And everybody that had their bags packed prior to halving, they use those people for extra liquidity. Because like after the halving, we really go up. I mean, that's just what happens. I mean, it's just the truth.
Yeah, it's true.
So generally after the halving, 75% of the bull cycle is after the halving. So, I mean, that's from what's happened in the past. Like, I don't know if it's going to happen in the future, but that's generally what happens.
Awesome.
Now, what I think could happen is what happened back here in 18. This is what I kind of think is going to happen. I'm just putting an idea out there. You see, we made a low here in 18. We had a nice run up. The price came back down and basically tested this bottom. So we knew this was the floor. And then we went up. We go back here in 15. We kind of did the same thing. We had a bottom. Price, went up a little bit, came back and tested this area for the bottom. Then we went up. Like, that was prior to the halving. I think the halving's in 2024.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the middle, somewhere there.
Around May, I think.
So we got like a year and a half. So we could definitely run up. Wherever our bottom ends up being, we could definitely run up, come back down, and test the bottom again one more time. So we have a lot of time, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I mean, if everything repeats itself like it did in the past. Just an idea. Don't know if it's going to happen. But.
Like I say, if anyone's wanting to get in on a trade, don't just be willy-nilly buying in. Look for your levels. Look for your potential support resistant levels. If you buy at the top, you're going to kick yourself knowing full well that you could have charted up. It takes 10-15 minutes just to pick out your levels and then decide where you want to buy in. There's no rush.
And if you're, best thing I can say, if you're an investor, don't invest all your money at one time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
have a proper time horizon. Like really, if everything goes like in the past, you should be cashing out in 2025, 2026. Like if you're an actual investor, you're not going to get quick gains like you did in a bull market. That's not happening right now.
Right.
So it's just the reality of it. I don't know. Okay, I gotta get running here in a couple minutes, buddy.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, I think we can wrap up there. So
you're going to where you're going? California this week? Tomorrow?
Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So tomorrow I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna watch Black Panther actually, and then I'm gonna sleep and then wake up super early to head down, and 11 a.m. flight, and then should land around about 3 p.m. California.
Okay.
And then kind of sort of kind of figure my way around, and then going to be staying with Cavell, Kyle, Venkatesh is joining us as well.
Oh, Cavell's making it down there?
Yeah, Cavell's flying down for his birthday, so it's going to be me,
awesome.
Kyle, and Venkatesh in one house, which is going to be quite fun, I think.
It's going to be madness.
F.A. Cavell.
Yeah, we're gonna take some pictures with Cavell and use them as a clickbait thumbnails for future videos.
Make sure you take 365 so you're covered for the next entire year.
Pretty much.
Daily uploads.
Yeah,
If-
I think
if-
we're gonna come along. We'll keep working, Kay. We're gonna keep doing the charts, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll show people our progress. You know.
Oh yeah, sure.
For future video.
So yeah, GodsEntry, he's on Twitter. You go to find him. You know, I'll attach the Twitter handle to the thumbnail of this video, so you can find him. And I've also tagged him on Twitter, so it should be quite easy. But yeah, give him a follow. Always sharing some really, really good insight. And if you want to kind of take it further, then you can reach out to GodsEntry directly and just kind of discuss, how you want to essentially what you want to achieve. When it comes to charting, trading, all of this good stuff. So yeah, any closing statements?
My goal is hopefully we'll build out a Discord here so we can. I want to get more structured first before I invite people. So that's the idea. Then everybody can learn together.
Yeah. So yeah, we will have a Discord together. Right now there is a very kind of a small let's say invite only Telegram, but if you are interested, then
You're more welcome.
Yeah. Then just reach out and we can kind of bring you in. But yeah, that's pretty much everything we want to go through today. And yeah, we'll definitely do another one in the future and kind of see how this all progresses. So yeah, thanks for joining in, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and see you in the next video.
All right, peace out.
Cheers, guys.
There, man.